What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weekly GCap, the only source you'll ever need to catch up on all the gaming news from the last week. And Christmas happened since the last episode, so I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a great New Year, because that'll be coming up before the next episode. So the next time I see you guys, it'll be 2025. Anyway, with it being the holidays, you guys know how it goes. The gaming news gets a little quiet for a bit, and that's kind of how it was this week, but we still have a few interesting and juicy stories. So as always, the timestamps will be down in the description, and you can just kind of scroll through there in the time bar. They should show up there, but anyways, let's get into this. First things first, I just wanted to let you guys know that Epic Games is still giving away free games every single day. Now, keep in mind, usually, Epic Games gives away one free game every single week, and it'll be available for that entire week for free. However, with this, the game gets swapped out every 24 hours. So if you don't grab it within that 24-hour window, you won't be able to get it for free again unless, they happen to put it back up for free, which has happened because on Christmas Day, they had Control available for free, which was really cool. And at the time of recording this, and at the time of you guys seeing this episode, it should be Ghost Runner 2 that is still free, but it'll be swapping out like 2 hours after the episode goes out, so make sure you get that ASAP. The games refresh every day at 11 a.m. EST, and this sale, if you want to call it that, is expected to go until January 2nd, 2025. Like I said, there's a chance that the game that they gave away for free is a game they've already done before, because that just happens from time to time since they do this literally like a year round, so overlap is bound to happen like Control. They already gave away the Ultimate Edition a while ago, but hey, for anybody that didn't get the chance to pick it up, hopefully you got to grab it on Christmas, and yeah, I'm excited to see what games they have for the rest of this lineup. Next up, I just wanted to make you guys aware of some holiday sales that are currently happening, as well as how long they're happening for. Now, originally, I was going to go through all the retailers, but there's a lot of retailers that I'd have to go through, like Best Buy, Walmart, Target, GameStop, and I feel like those are all pretty self-explanatory, so, maybe do some browsing there if, like me, you don't like buying digital games and you prefer to just get physical games. But for those of you that do like digital games, I decided to go through and pick one just random suggestion for $10 or less from each of the big platform holders, as well as how long their sales are going for. So from the top, Steam's winter sale, holiday sale, whatever you want to call it, is going to be going from December 19th until January 2nd, and I would recommend the Witcher 3 Complete Edition because right now it is only $10. After that, for the Nintendo eShop, their sale goes from December 23rd until January 5th, 2025, and over there, I'd recommend Minecraft Legends, which again is $10. A lot of bang for buck there. If you don't know what Minecraft Legends is, it's essentially a Minecraft version of Diablo, and it's genuinely a lot of fun. I've put in hundreds, if not thousands of hours into that game across many different platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC. It is a fantastic game, and I cannot recommend it enough. Super underrated in my opinion. Then for the PlayStation Store, their sale goes from December 20th until January 17th, technically, but some titles will be discontinued on January 6th in terms of their sales, so keep that in mind. But over there, I'd recommend Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is $3.99. I had to do a double take on that one, but I checked their site and everything, and yeah, so unless that was a typo that they end up changing really soon, you can pick up that game for $3.99, and let me just say, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, that game is a masterpiece, as well as its sequel, Jedi Survivor, so good. And then for the Xbox Store, their sale goes from December 22nd until January 2nd, and I'd recommend Gunfire Reborn, which is available for $9.99. And if you don't know what this game is, it is a first-person roguelike shooter. Roguelite, whatever. But seriously, it is absolutely fantastic. You play as animals in the game. You can play as like a cat and a dog, and there's like different animals in there, but it is, I don't even know how to explain it into words. It's genuinely just such an innovative and fantastic game. It's one of those games where you pick it up intending to just try it out for a few minutes, and then you look at the clock and go, oh, it's been 7 hours. Like, it's one of those games. It's so good. Definitely pick it up and give it a shot if you haven't played it before. And even if you played it before, then, re-download it and play it again, because, dude, the game's awesome. Next up, Trails in the Sky, the first chapter was announced. This coming from Gamatsu. Quote, Trails in the Sky first chapter, formerly The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the First, will launch for PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC via Steam as a simultaneous worldwide release in fall 2025. Western publisher Gung Ho Online Entertainment and developer Falcom announced. It will feature English and Japanese voiceovers, sorry, my voice is giving out, and English, Japanese, French, and German subtitles. The English, French, and German localizations are brand new. In North America, Gung Ho Online Entertainment will sell a standard physical edition of Trails in the Sky first chapter via Amazon for $59.99 USD. Collector's editions made by Limited Run Games, which will also be announced at a later date, will also be available. In Europe, Clear River Games will distribute the standard physical edition for €59.99. So again, it is worth noting that there will be a limited run version, which means if you want to get the game as soon as possible, get it through Amazon for the standard MSRP. If you don't mind getting the game a year or two late, go ahead and get it from limited run. And that may sound like a bit of a joke, which it kind of is, but like, dude, anytime that I've ordered a game from limited run, it takes anywhere from like 6 months to a year to show up, so just keep that in mind. It's definitely worth it though, especially if you're like a fan of the series, especially considering this is a remake of the first game. Like, you know, even I can tell you, yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting the limited run version, of course, but yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get my hands on the game. Regardless, just wanted to make you guys aware of this. I like shining a light on these fantastic RPG series that I feel like deserve some more love, and the Trail series is one that, yeah, I would say that that's definitely the case. Next up, Ys 10 Proud Nordics was announced. Now, this is something that we've been following very closely. You guys know I am a huge Ys fan, but they ended up announcing sort of like a, you guys know how there's like Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal? Ys is kind of doing that now, which is pretty cool. So, this is coming from Gamatsu. Quote, Falcom announced a Ys 10 Proud Nordics, a significantly upgraded version of Ys 10 Nordics, featuring a new story, new setting, and numerous new elements. It will launch in 2025 in Japan. Platforms were not announced, end quote. But then they have a thing below that goes on to talk about the game, which we'll get to. It is worth noting, this game is coming out 2025 in Japan. If you know anything about the Ys games, it usually takes like almost upwards of a year for it to come to the West, so it's possible that it might not be until 2026 till we get our hands on this version of the game, which is why I'm not too salty about it, because, you know, Ys 10 Nordics literally just came out a bit ago over here in the West, so them announcing this is sort of like, okay, really, this soon? But it makes sense because, again, Ys 10 came out so long ago, technically in Japan, and even though we just got it recently, the game was already kind of like old news in a way for Japan by the time that we got it, and same is probably going to be the case here for Proud Nordics, just because of the localization process, especially considering this isn't one of those huge RPG series like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. It's definitely gotten a bit more popular in recent years, but it's not as popular as one of those, which is unfortunate because it's a great series. But below that, they have some things talking about it, saying Ys 10 Proud Nordics will launch in 2025 in Japan as a significantly upgraded version of the game, features a new story, new settings for adventure, and numerous new elements. In addition to the exhilarating offensive and defensive cross actions between Adel and Karja, Ys 10 Proud Nordics introduces new mana actions, along with a vast map of island and exploration areas. There is also plenty of additional content, including new bosses, mana ride races, and arena battles where formidable foes await. Please look forward to a new Ys story reborn as Ys 10 Proud Nordics. End quote. So there it is. As soon as we have a release date for the West, obviously I'll let you guys know because I will be keeping my eyes on this. I'm super excited to get my hands on the upgraded version, but still wanted to make you guys aware of the fact that this version does exist in the meantime if you wanted to import a copy if you're able to speak Japanese. Me personally, I'm able to speak some Japanese, watashi wa akairingo ga hoshi desu, but I'm not exactly fluent. So, and if you're curious about what I just said, I said that I want a red apple. Totally random, I know, but anytime that people want me to prove that I can speak Japanese, I just say the most random sentence possible just to show like, yeah, you know, I can do it, but not exactly fluent enough to play an entire game like that, so I'll be waiting for the West release date. Next up, the Helldivers 2 Killzone crossover content is now free. So we had talked about this previously, and yeah, there was some backlash online, unfortunately. So we'll go ahead and just kind of go through the whole story here. This coming from Games Radar Plus. Quote, Helldivers 2 crossed over with Killzone 2 earlier this week, but the head shooter's first collaboration was struck with complaints over exorbitantly priced microtransactions. As an apology for the high price tags and to continue its streak of goodwill gestures, developer Arrowhead Game Studios is now offering the crossover's second batch of goodies for free. To quickly catch you up, Helldivers 2's first official collab is with fellow PlayStation shooter Killzone 2. The first wave of items includes an assault rifle, a helmet, armor, a cape, a player card, and a player title that costs players almost 2,000 super credits, aka about $20 USD, and double the cost of traditional war bonds. And it was only available for 5 days. To grab every cosmetic or equipment in the Helldivers 2 Killzone collab, including whatever the second batch includes, would cost the players nearly $40, which obviously caused a bit of backlash in the community, prompting Arrowhead CEO Shams Georgiani to admit that the studio wanted to, quote, find the sweet spot of people loving the content and the price and buy the bejesus out of it, though this clearly didn't hit that mark. So Arrowhead and Killzone stewards Guerrilla Games have now reached a compromise, though, quote, as this was our first crossover offering, we've been listening to the response and the feedback we've received from our community. Surveys is that crossover content is really high up on your wish list. At the same time, some of you are not happy with the price of the items, and we will revisit this. Many of you are also concerned that items wouldn't be in rotation for long enough, and there was a bit of concern around how these items exist outside of our usual Warbond release. releases, which are always themed in our own universe. So the studio is giving the second set of Killzone themed items to all players later today, which means that by the time you're watching this video, it's available now, and it's completely free of charge. Quote, the distribution of these items will begin shortly in 2 waves. Arrowhead is also extending how long the current Killzone items are available from 5 days to 10 days and are working on a way to bring these items back permanently. Massive round of applause for Arrowhead, man. They mess up and they just say, okay, they own it and they fix it. It's that simple. I got nothing but respect for these lads. And then at the bottom, it also goes on to say that, quote, if we do stuff you like, we are able to sustain the business and make more stuff that you hopefully like. CCO Johan Pilstedt wrote on social media, and then that continues until it doesn't work, at which point the story ends. End quote, which that is some very good insight. You know, you make your players happy, players will continue to play your game and potentially spend money on microtransactions, and business keeps moving along. You know, you put the players first, the players will continue to support your game, and that just helps grow a healthy relationship between the developers and the game makers as well as the player base, and that really does go a long way because, you know, especially for a lot of these live service games that are coming up, they're, you know, they can be pretty quick to be quite egregious with the microtransactions and such, and even when the players get backlash, you know, sometimes the devs and publishers will just kind of say, suck it up, and they never really do anything about it. For some games, that ends up working in the long run. They still end up raking in millions and billions of dollars anyway, but for others, yeah, it doesn't work out so well. So thankfully they had the foresight to be like, hey, we've been all about the players up to this point, and they're giving back to the players by giving away literally everything in the second batch for free and extending the amount of time that all this stuff is available. So definitely dive in, claim the stuff, get it, because I mean, dude, if we show Sony that we absolutely love this crossover and we want more Killzone stuff, I'm not saying they're gonna announce a new Killzone tomorrow, but just maybe. Just maybe one day we could get a new Killzone, please. Next up, apparently Sonic the Hedgehog 4, the movie, is coming in 2027. I'm only highlighting this because I think it's so funny how in the video game business, we hear about games maybe a few months, maybe a year or two before it comes out, and some, like, usually that's when we start getting trailers and hearing, you know, official things about it. Sometimes, in some situations, they'll announce a game when it's still years and years away, but for the most part, especially nowadays, you hear about a game, you see a trailer, it's coming a few months to a year later. But this, 2027, brother, we are just barely finishing up 2024, and the third movie literally just came out. But anyway, this coming from The Verge, quote, Variety is reporting that Paramount Pictures is planning to extend the Sonic the Hedgehog trilogy by yet another movie. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 has been greenlit with a target release window of spring 2027. Neither Variety nor Paramount Pictures have confirmed any plot details or who might get their Sonic movie debut, you know, referring to characters in the movie, so, but again, I just had to highlight this because I just think it's so funny how even though this is a movie based on a video game, the differences between the video game and movie, you know, landscape, it's so different. Next up, I have a very disappointing story for you guys. Dead Space 4 was denied by EA. Man, just saying that was actually kind of hard. I love Dead Space. I've been waiting for ages to hear about a new one potentially. The remake was great, but you know, a fourth game would be great, but seems like won't be happening for a while, if at all. This coming from an article that The Gamer did, recapping an interview that Dan Allen Gaming conducted with Glenn Schofield, who is one of the leading creative minds behind Dead Space. Quote, speaking on the Dan Allen Gaming podcast, Schofield said, quote, we tried. Dead Space 4, we're talking this year. We didn't go too deep. They just said, we're not interested right now, we appreciate it, and we know who to talk to. We respect their opinions, they have their numbers and what they have to ship, Schofield said. Schofield's colleague, Christopher Stone, who appeared on the podcast alongside the former Striking Distance studio CEO, said, quote, the industry is in a weird place right now. People are really hesitant to take risks right now. Who knows? Maybe one day, I think we'd all love to do it. End quote. So that's really sad. You know, they approached EA with possibly a Dead Space 4, man. That is huge. And EA was just kind of like, nah, not right now, because everybody's just too scared to take risks, and just, it's sad, you know? Just 2 generations ago, we were having these quick turnarounds with BioShock to BioShock 2, and Dead Space to Dead Space 2, and then Dead Space 3, and the yearly Call of Duties, and all these Halo games coming out, and ODST, and Reach, and 3, and all this. But now, we're just in this place of, it's not complacency, but this place of, just fear. I don't even know what it is. Avoidance of risks? I can't think of what the word is for that right now, but it just makes me sad. I could go on and on with this, but you guys probably already know everything I have to say, and then some, so, but there it is. Dead Space 4. They tried, and we're not getting it. Next up, Sony is officially the largest shareholder of Kadokawa. This coming from gamesindustry.biz. Quote, Sony is increasing its stake in Kadokawa Corporation, which will make it the From Software parent's biggest shareholder. The company announced a strategic capital and business alliance agreement, which will see Sony acquiring more than 12 million new shares in Kadokawa on January 7, 2025 for around 50 billion yen, aka $318 million USD. Added to the Kadokawa shares that the PlayStation firm previously acquired in February 2021, this will give Sony an approximately 10% stake in the company. Sony already owns a 14% stake in From Software, who developed Elden Ring, Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, etc., which is owned by Kadokawa. The agreement goes beyond the sale of shares. The two companies are planning to work together in future on a number of joint projects, including adapting some of Kadokawa's IP into live-action films and TV dramas, co-producing anime works, and expanding the publishing and distribution for both Kadokawa's anime and video games. End quote. So this isn't a complete acquisition like what it was seeming like they were interested in doing, because we've been following this story pretty closely just to see what ends up happening with this. And while this is not a complete acquisition, this is still Sony moving in to become the largest shareholder in the company. It's hard to say whether or not in the future Sony will go on to acquire the company if they just start slowly getting more and more shares. But for the moment, it seems like Sony and Kadokawa are getting closer and closer in terms of business stuff, which is pretty good, because if you think about it, Kadokawa, parent company of From Software, you know what From Software makes, right? Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne. There's a lot of potential there, so we'll see what happens with this. And finally, the SuperSEGA project development is getting weird. So we've had a couple updates on this, and this is another one that we've been following very closely, so oh boy, the last time we talked about this, it was seeming like SEGA was trying to shut down the project, and for those of you that don't know, SuperSEGA is just like this project that this group of people's working on, where it's this console that can basically emulate, or not even emulate because it's like FPGA based and everything. It's going to be able to run like every SEGA console ever. We're talking Dreamcast, Genesis, 32X, everything, like all in one. But there was rumblings that SEGA was maybe trying to shut down the project, and then we had responses from the developers, and it just got a bit weird, and it's getting even weirder. So this is coming from Time Extension, quote, yesterday it seemed that the curtain had finally fallen for the roller coaster that is the SuperSEGA project. SuperSEGA boss Alejandro Martin put his Lamborghini Gallardo up for sale, claimed that refunds were being processed, and basically called time on the whole thing, referring to the SuperSEGA project. A series of events which won't have been all that surprising to those who have been following the story closely. We've since been sent yet another email by Martin, which has to rank as a true Christmas miracle if true. He now claims that SEGA is perfectly okay with the console. Yes, really. Previously, Martin has always included a copy of official communication from SEGA's legal team regarding SuperSEGA, but in this email, he has simply pasted the company's statement into the email body text. It reads as follows. Subject, information about SuperSEGA Super SPGA. Greetings to whomever of SuperSEGA Super SPGA group may concern. We are sorry to have interfered with your gaming console project without providing any evidence of your wrongdoings regarding these ongoing matters. We actually approve of your projects and appreciate your contributions to the gaming communities, industries across and around the world. Please understand that some of our legal team employees / associates behind the false takedown requests intentionally made false reports in order to commit crimes in the names of your group members for no reason. Please go ahead and continue your projects alongside keeping all of your manufactured units. Please feel free to contact SEGA's offices for assistance if you need help regarding your SuperSEGA Super SPGA console development. Please go ahead and report some of our legal team employees and associates behind these unlawful attacks for misconduct, harassment, etc. Sincerely, the SEGA Europe Legal Department. We'll naturally be approaching SEGA for comment on this, but given that it's Christmas tomorrow, we're not expecting to hear back for a while. End quote. So, yeah, this, I don't know, this, I know, here's the thing. Just as somebody that speaks English natively, this doesn't sound like English, especially when it comes to lawful English. The only way that I could say maybe this is legit is because it's from the European team, and, you know, obviously, Europeans' way of speaking English isn't going to be spot on with somebody from the US, for example. But I don't know, this still just doesn't sound like something you'd hear from a legal team. I don't know. Again, we'll be following this story close to see what happens, but this is just getting weird at this point. The dude put his Lamborghini up for sale, started issuing refunds, and then says that everything was okay, and instead of attaching a copy of the email like he always did, just sends this copy and paste thing. I'm not too sure about this one, Chief. Originally, I was interested in picking up the console, but at this point, I don't know. I think I'm gonna hold off and see how this thing plays out, and of course, as always, I'll keep you guys updated as soon as we know more, because Yeah, now I'm just interested to see a lot of things. Is this legit? Is the console even gonna come out? Is it gonna be exposed that this whole thing was a fraud? I have no idea, but it's something. I'll say that, it's something. But anyways, that is all the stories that I have for you guys this week, which means, yeah, it's time for me to get out of here. And when I see you guys again, it'll be 2025. So I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas, and I hope you're going to have an amazing New Year. If you'd like to catch new episodes of Weekly GCAP, they go live every single Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. I'd love to have you here. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day and an amazing weekend. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.